Hey everybody, this is Purple Smurf, and this is another episode, a special Saturday of There Will Be Ink. Our guest tonight is Tim Olson, the creator of Melvin. We're going to hear from him in a little bit. We also have Ryan Wynn on the panel tonight, and my great friend JB. So first, we're going to learn a little bit about Clark Ashton Smith. We're going to watch a video I made. It's called The California Lovecraft. Hope you enjoy, learn something about a great cosmic horror writer, and we'll start the show after this.
Yes, y'all. You don't stop. Let's smurf it up. You see, it's time to rock. Yes, y'all. You don't quit. If you were looking for a party, this is it.
Wake up, Smurfs. I think I found the cure. But to test it, we must catch a purple Smurf. It will be dangerous. Are there any volunteers?
Hey everybody, it's your good friend Purple Smurf with another trip under the mushroom. I'm going to talk about Clark Ashton Smith. He's a writer, a painter, a sculptor, and it's his work that my comic, Tales of Zero, is based on. So let's call him, for the sake of this little discussion, the California Lovecraft. Okay, picture Lovecraft. He's this tall, gaunt, pale, gangly guy knocking about the streets of Providence, Rhode Island, shuffling down the rainy, dark, twisted cobblestone lanes. He practically looks like a character from Edgar Allan Poe. Now picture, if you will, if there was a California Lovecraft, a Lovecraft who spent more time outside in green rolling hills and pasture lands, a Lovecraft who was frequenting the Bay Area, Mount Shasta, the outdoorsy Lovecraft, if you will. Well, that's, my friend, is Clark Ashton Smith. He's just an incredible writer, visionary poet with powers to take you from the seat you're sitting in, from otherworldly realm, are equal to, if not in time, surpassing Lovecraft. And part of the reason I say that is the variety of scenes that Smith can bring you to, where Lovecraft leaves off and says, I stared into an abyss too horrible to describe. Clark Ashton Smith will simply arrive there before you've had a chance to realize that you made the journey. Then you and the protagonist start to put together the world you're in. And if you've never read anything by Smith, I would like to recommend one for you. A story for all you Lovecraftianados. If you're a huge Lovecraft fan, you've read them all, you love The Shadow Out of Time, like most of us do, I'm going to give you a recommendation. It's called The City of the Singing Flame. I'm going to give you a quick summary for this episode of Under the Mushroom Cap, and then you go check it out. Maybe you will have a new favorite cosmic horror writer. So, The City of the Singing Flame. Here's a little quick story summary. Remember all those Lovecraft stories, like In the Vault, or The Statement of Randolph Carter, or The Hound? And it's basically, there's two guys, they make an agreement to get together and go to some dank cyclopean moss-covered vault in the middle of the night on a certain day of the year, and in the dark Stygian depths they encounter something horrendous. That's a very typical Lovecraftian setup. Listen to the California Lovecraft. A writer and his two writer friends go camping in the California mountains in the bright sunlight. See the difference? It's wonderful. So in the bright sunlight they go camping, and then they notice that certain stubby rocks look like they could be the columns of a strange antediluvian civilization. You see, the California Lovecraft. Isn't this great? It happens in the daylight instead of in the dark Stygian nights of a bayou or Providence graveyard. So one of them finds two of these little stubby green stones that look like the bases of eroded columns, and when he steps through, he enters a dimensional gateway, falling and falling. And this is what I mean about where Lovecraft would pause and say, I stood on an abyss of a cosmic vista too bizarre to explain. Smith just puts you in the first person narrator's shoes and has you fall through that dimensional gateway himself. Then, in the eyes of this character, you wake up, and in this altered dimension, he discovers the City of the Singing Flame. I can't even tell you how beautifully it's described. But if you've ever seen the movie Fantastic Planet, it has shades of that to it. I just don't want to spoil it for you, but it is absolutely a phenomenal story. If you've never read anything by Smith and you're a Lovecraft fan and you want a new favorite writer, check out City of the Singing Flame. In fact, it's so good, he wrote a sequel to it, and the sequel doesn't suck. Anyway, that's it for Under the Mushroom Cap. Check out the California Lovecraft, Clark Ashton Smith. And he is the inspiration for my comic Tales of Zero, available on Indiegogo now. Check it out. Lines by the incomparable Matthew Queen, script and colors by me, the Purple Smurf, and it's going to take you on your own psychedelic, multicolored Lovecraftian adventure. And it is a love letter to the California Lovecraft, Clark Ashton Smith.
There you go, guys. That was a little infotainment. You know, you got a little infotainment before we start drawing. So let me introduce the panel one more time. I'll close that. And that was a little teaser from my comic, Tales of Zero, in case you didn't know anything about Clark Ashton Smith. But we're here also to meet and learn about the passion and the project of Tim Olson. So Tim, we're glad you're here. Ryan is, are you the award-winning inker? What is your inking status, Ryan? You're a multi-medal. Do you hold the belt? Is there a belt? There's a belt, right?
Why is there a belt?
There's a belt, but I don't own it. I'm a multi-nominated inker, but I own no awards.
All right, we'll get you a belt. But anyway, Ryan is an awesome guy, a great artist, a great inker.
Awesome.
And also JB, who's a favorite of our There Will Be Ink audience and drawn many pieces for us. So we got 4 of us in the house right now. And what should we start with? You want to start with Tim? You want to talk about your project? You want to talk about our drawing prompt? What should we kick it off with?
Well, I guess I could give you kind of the summary of what my comic book is about. It's
All right.
It's sci-fi fantasy, so it's about a mercenary hired to save a princess from a dangerous cult.
All right, I'm in.
All right.
Yep, I like it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So just having looked at a little bit of the art in your book and looked at the couple of your covers, I picked for tonight's topic super soldiers because I saw there was sort of a kind of like a military vibe, but then when I was looking at it, you were like, no, his skin's orange.
Yellow.
I was like, whoa, his skin's orange. Okay, so this isn't just a regular military comic. You know, this is like
Yellow.
You've got something beyond his skin's yellow. So I'm just gonna say for all those drawing along at home, hey, the topic is super soldiers and whatever you want to do. So start sketching something. Could be Jean-Claude Van Damme, a Universal soldier. It should be a mech armor pilot. Anything where a soldier is given some unusual enhancements, and let your creativity run wild with that. And we'll give it back to Tim. So Tim, tell us more. There's a mercenary who's going to rescue a princess.
Yes. Well, without giving out too much away, because I want people to get the book. There's a little bit of a twist to it, but it's a lot of action. He fights, the cult leader, or the second in command cult leader, and he fights through a bunch of cultists. There are giant serpents in this it's a jungle planet. There's a lot of desert in between these different patches of jungle. So he's fighting serpents and other various creatures on his way to try to get to her. And you sent me a list of questions you wanted me to answer.
Yeah, well, I think it's basic stuff about like, just tell us where your inspirations come from.
Well, like anybody kind of coming of age, early 90s, it was like there was like the stuff. It was like basically like the stuff Marvel was doing, and then quickly Image Comics came around. Mm-hmm. I recently, in recent times, I like stories by Edgar Rice Burroughs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ever since I saw the Disney version of John Carter of Mars.
It was a great movie.
It's a great movie. Yeah, I know. It was totally underrated. You were wanting to know what makes it unique.
Yeah.
And I'd say, like most good ideas, they're a gumbo of different, influences. I could name off stuff like Punisher, Image Comics. Like I said, Edgar Rice Burroughs. I also like movies like Gladiator and
mm-hmm.
Conan, Rambo, Crawl, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see that Conan and Rambo combined. So can you tell us, without spoiling anything, why he is yellow?
That is, well, he's like, as far as he knows, the last of his kind, and that's kind of a tip of the hat to The Simpsons, which I grew up watching ever since like the Tracy Ullman show.
Mm-hmm.
That's rad.
Yeah. And I think I came up with the idea when people were making a bigger deal about, the color of a character versus the story or the idea. I think
I see.
somebody wrote an article about why aren't there an all black X-Men kind of thing. I was like, well, there are black X-Men. Who cares as long as it's a good story?
Oh, of course. I mean, when I was reading, and as an 11-year-old kid, Storm was my favorite X-Men. Storm is my favorite X-Men today. She was the best, my absolute favorite character back in the day. And
Forge.
Yeah, and you had Monica Rambeau leading the Avengers. That's when I was reading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jon Stewart kicks butt. I mean, there's so many great characters. So yeah, it's fun, I guess, to tweak color. I mean, look at me. I'm a purple Smurf, so I can get into that,
So like every character's skin tone in my comic book is either red or green or purple or yellow. There's not going to be like a white or a different shades of brown. It's a different universe. Well, it's the same universe. It's the same universe, but it's like in the future, people like us don't exist anymore.
Oh, okay, so it's in the future.
Yeah, there's no Earth. Earth is gone.
See, are you guys interested all of a sudden? I'm interested.
Yeah.
Now that I know that there's no Earth, now I'm in 100%. You know, it reminds me of two things. You know, Clark Ashton Smith had something he called Zothique, and it was like 8,000 years in the future where mankind had already developed technology and then lost technology and then returned to kind of a medieval Renaissance level of technology 8,000 years in the future. Half the continents had sunk and changed shape, but there was technology and there was magic in Zothique. So that he set up a universe there where you could have exactly Conan type heroes, but you could also have machines, but you could also have wizards. So yeah, I mean, when you do that, when you send yourself to a fantasy future, you open up a lot of possibilities.
Yes. Why did I create Melvin? As a kid, you can imagine I was bullied a lot, and I needed a reason to express myself, and I guess comic books was a way to do that. I mean, that's when I was a kid, and I also wanted to kind of draw like Rob Liefeld ever since X-Force #1.
Mm-hmm.
And now I just nowadays I just want to make a really action-packed comic book, and something that's fun. People don't have fun anymore.
Tell me about it. I know, it's true. I mean, I tried with the comic that I'm working on, Tales of Zero. I wanted it to be a ride, that you get on the ride, and 6 pages in, you kind of want to know what's next, and 10 pages in, you can't put it down, and then by the end, you're like, whoa, it should be fun. It should be like a ride. It should take you up and then drop you from a height, and there should be a gasp and a catching your breath when it's over, and the desire to repeat it. I mean, I think fun is it's easy to discount fun, but true fun is a wonderful thing when you're taken out of the ordinary life and brought into some special excitement and moment of imagination. There's nothing better than that. That's the best thing of all, right?
Of course.
I mean, so good on you for that. Have you ever heard of Lee Brackett, the science fiction writer?
No.
I think there's a character you would really, really like. So Lee Brackett, she wrote in the 30s, 40s, 50s. She also did the first draft of the Empire Strikes Back script right before she died. So she loved Conan. She loved Conan. She loved all those characters. So she created a character who is awesome. His name is John Eric Stark. And I think he's similar to what you're doing with Melvin. And he was totally inspired by Edgar Rice Burroughs' John Carter, right? So she went in, and so John Eric Stark, his story is that he was abandoned on Venus by his scientist parents and raised by the Venusians. So now he has no human culture; he only has a Venusian culture. And then he goes through the solar system as sort of a mercenary Conan type, guided by the wisdom imparted to him by his Venusian people. And because he was raised on Venus instead of raised on Earth, his skin is the wrong color. And so he's also like embraced by no one. He's like a permanent loner. He doesn't belong anywhere. Cool. So the story I'd recommend you check out is called The Black Amazon of Mars.
The Black Amazon. That sounds like it was heavily inspired by John Carter.
I think her John Carter series was, I think in her biography, she started to read the John Carter books when she was 11 or 12, and that was it. Her life changed. She wanted to write fantasy and sci-fi as soon as she encountered. So yeah, she's sometimes called the Queen of Space Opera because her stories are so sprawling. But John Eric Stark is like her version of this space Conan. where he's very stoic, but he's bound by a really strong code of mercenary ethics. And it's so funny because I love Conan. I didn't really dig into Robert E. Howard too deeply until the last 2 years. But when you go to the source material of Conan or Kull, yeah, there's a philosophy about Conan. He has a philosophy. He's not like a barbarian who just like breaks stuff. A lot of his stuff is about how his truth is truer than the civilized truth. And
He's
when
not
he
a caveman like people
no,
think.
no. And when he gets involved with court intrigue, and there's he's in with kings and princes and advisors, and they're doing all this court intrigue and deception, and he just cuts through the nonsense, and he doesn't. Robert E. Howard had a great point of view in that sense of like how the unspoiled, natural, indigenous mindset could cut through the civilized mindset. Yeah, gotta love it. The real Conan stories are really wonderful.
I've been meaning to get the book. I've seen the movies.
Mm-hmm.
My brother actually has a copy of those stories. I've been meaning to get that.
Oh yeah, some of them they're just wonderful. I think there's one that's called I don't know, something in the shadows, but it hits all the notes. Something in the shadows, moon in the shadows, or someone can tell me in the chat if they know it. But it starts out with this girl. She's being pursued by some corrupt prince who's going to force her into some inappropriate situation. So Conan like hides in the swamp and then wrecks the prince, just destroys him, and then carries the girl with him begrudgingly. And then of course she's scared, but then she learns to trust him. And then they go on this boat and they end up on an island, and there's weird ruins, and they sleep in the ruins, and then there's weird things, and then there's a monster and he fights the monster. It's just got it all, It's just
Actually, you're talking about Lovecraft.
Mhm.
A lot of Lovecraft monsters actually make, I think, somewhat of an appearance in Conan stories.
Yeah, there's a crossover. Same with Clark Ashton Smith. They used to swap monsters and mythology all the time. They were the trio, But yeah, Robert E. Howard is a very effective and punchy writer. His dialogue and his action scenes are unbelievable.
Yeah, I kind of wrote down the name of that story, "The City of the Singing Flame."
Yeah, that's like
My
Clark Ashton Smith's like visionary. He just takes you on this visionary trip that's unbelievable. Where like I'm trying to think of a Robert E. Howard where he does that action thing. But that one, or the really foundational piece for Robert E. Howard is the Shadow Kingdom. The Shadow Kingdom. That's a Kull story, and it's like Kull, because both Kull and Conan did this thing where they started out as barbarians and then they became king. So that kind of showed their progression. And so the Shadow Kingdom is Kull when he's king, and he's like yearning for the barbarian life or whatever, and he's sick of all the court intrigue. And then someone puts it into his mind, like half of the people serving you are actually serpents who are magically disguised as humans. So then he has to figure out who's real and who's a serpent, and it sort of like becomes the Thing or whatever, where you're trying to figure out who's real and who's a doppelganger. That's called the Shadow Kingdom. It's a great one.
Another good influence was the Chronicles of Riddick, Pitch Black.
Mm-hmm.
Chronicles of Riddick. Those are my favorite movies of all time.
Oh, awesome.
Well, one of them.
All right, cool. Well, tell us how your campaign is going.
Well, right now, it's got its ups and downs. It's I got 31 days left. It's at 534.
Mm-hmm. What's your target?
2,000.
Yeah. And are you the artist, writer, colorist, letterer? Are you everything?
No, I am.
Who's your team?
I created it. I wrote the script.
Mm-hmm.
I hired an artist, Sherwin K.O. Sains, to do the inside pages. Vic King redrew my original cover.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I got a cover from John Dillard.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Oh, he is,
Nice.
isn't he?
Yeah, he's wonderful. He's done some stuff for me too, not drawing, but other stuff. He's just a very good guy.
He doesn't have to wait on people to get stuff done. He just does it himself.
Yeah, he's really good.
Let's see.
All right, so you need to get to 2,000, and if you don't make your target, did you do it like one of those campaigns where you keep what you have, or do you lose everything?
I did it as a flexible goal.
Flexible goal, right?
The way I look at it is, if I only have like 34 backers or something like that, that's 34 people that have my stuff.
That's all you need, man. That's all you need. Talk to your creative team, set your budget, deliver to the people that back you, and don't treat it like a defeat if you don't hit your target.
Oh no, it's like you've heard of the band Black Flag, right? So Rollins' first gig, only 2 people showed up, and he was complaining about it. And Des Candida says, "Just shut up and sing." Yeah, just basically, just do it. So, another cover was donated by Rob Ewing, fantastic artist.
Great.
And then, of course, Sherwin did a cover himself. So
cool. Well, I mean, I think the key thing is that, and Ryan, feel free, everybody chime in. People in the chat chime in. Crowdfunding it's a dance, right? One thing you can say is I set my target too high. One thing you could say is I did this, I did that. Everybody's got to figure out their own dance. It's not the same for anybody, right? But I think one thing I've noticed is that, like, you think people know about you, but nobody knows about you, right? I remember hearing somebody say, like if 1,000 people hear about you, one of them might back you. You know what I mean? Just even if that's just a saying, imagine for a while that it's true. So you just need people to hear about you, see the cover, and remember the name Melvin. And that needs to happen for them like 100 times. And then maybe they'll be like, yeah, Melvin, I remember that. I mean, I'm meeting people all the time. They have heard of me. They don't know the name of my book, even though we're all in the Twitterverse together. So it's like, you have to have a realistic goal that, like, you're only going to be able to reach so many people the first at bat. And I look at it with Tales of Zero. Nobody knows who I am. I'm a Smurf. Nobody knows me, right? But I really believe in the book. So if, like you said, if I get 50 backers, if I get 60 backers, and they get their book and they love it, I'll feel very successful. Because that's me going from 0 to something. What's more important than going from 0 to something? That's the biggest step of all. Once you take that step, then you've begun.
Yeah, and it's like if you have a bunch of copies left over, just go sell them to comic book shops. So let people know you still got copies available. Hit me up.
Make them perks in your next campaign or whatever. So
cool. Add it to your next campaign.
Exactly.
I actually like the interior art of your book. I have a thing, and you bring up Black Flag. I'm a musician myself. I have a thing for inkers and inking that's different. That you look at the line work and you're like, and you actually have to squint and look twice. To me, that's always a win. If I have to look at the inks a few times and kind of check out where am I in this line work. Oh, this line work makes me see differently. It plays with my understanding of where the things are. That for me is exciting. So I like the way that your book looks, because it has that underground outsider kind of look, and to me that's exciting.
Did you see the colored pages though? There's going to be a colored version. Nice.
No, I've seen only the black and white, but I did see Vic King's cover. But I like the interiors. I like the style. I people who have like talked to me or whatever. I repeat myself. Whatever. I'm one person, but I like in '86 when you had the turtles and the black belt hamster and everything. Like the line work on those books were idiosyncratic and weird and different. And that was cool. So when I see like art that's different, like Road Warrior Drake that Elasmat is doing,
Oh, and another thing about the cover,
I like that. I like to see line work that's different,
Another thing about the original cover, this guy Billy Basco, he did the logo for the original one, and he did something to the cover that made it look fantastic.
Awesome. Well, anyway, I'll be glad to lend my support to you to just get the word out about your book. Just again, 100 people see it, 500 people, 600 people see it. You're still getting like 1 backers at single digits, for every 100 people that see it. But man, when you get 10 more, when you get 5 more, it's huge, So I just think there's a whole mindset of like hit the base, hit the ball, get on base, deliver the product. Your first campaign, everyone remembers. So yeah, he said he wrote a book, he delivered it. People liked it. That's a huge step. That's a huge step, And
if I deliver, people are probably going, "Hey, at least he didn't have that many backers, but he delivered."
That's it.
More people.
When you're not a known entity, you got to become a known entity. Until then, you're just a Twitter handle, right? And that's where I am too. So I'm not giving this advice by like some sort of know-it-all. I'm in the same game too.
Oh yeah.
It's just you gotta get out there, let people hear about you, say you've got a book, show the book, then deliver the book. Then people might be like, oh, okay. It's real now, right? Hey, Matthew Nickerson, welcome. Misfits, all right, El Padrino, you know what's up.
Hell yeah. Misfits all the way, man.
You know what's up. All right, guys, let's talk to the artists and see what they're doing. JB, what are you doing?
So
I'm going to turn my camera on and show you what I'm doing.
I couldn't decide between Solid Snake or Jean-Claude Van Damme's character in Universal Soldier. So I just went ahead and went with Solid Snake.
All right, cool. And Ryan, what are you doing?
I am not drawing Captain America. What I'm drawing is John Walker, U.S. Agent.
Oh, U.S. Agent. Nice.
When I was a kid and one of those Kieran Dwyer covers came across my path, I don't know, 86, 87, something like that. And I saw that John Walker in the black suit with the crest across his chest and the no A on the hat or on the helmet and the cowl. It just spoke to me, and I've always kind of dug that character. And tonight, when you said, or earlier today when you said Super Soldier, I was like, I'm drawing U.S. Agent.
Oh, that's so cool, man. Good for you. I know. I'm like, go ahead, Tim.
Don't you think they should do an Avengers West Coast movie?
Well, that would be
yes and no, because sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't like what they did with stuff, but then other times I'm like, hey, do something with the characters I like. Yeah,
yeah, that's the thing. Like, I remember the West Coast Avengers in 1985. But they'd have to pick who is going to be in and who is going to be out, and it could be contentious.
I mean,
it'd be fun though. Go ahead, Tim. Sorry.
That's all right. It wasn't some wrestler supposed to play Captain America, wasn't it? John Cena or something like that.
John Cena. Wow. Who knows?
Oh, dang.
Who knows?
They could easily have him play a U.S. agent. Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, here's what I'm doing, you guys. This is I learned from the last couple weeks of being a broadcaster that I have to start my drawing before the show, because then I get so into the inking that I don't look at the chat. I don't do anything, and I become like just so this is mine. I'm doing Rook Bartley from Robotech, the 3rd generation, Genesis Climber Mospeada. So she's got her armor and her cyclone, and that she can merge into the cyclone and become this armored badass. So this is my pencil sketch. And Ryan, I'm sure an inker of your skill never has this problem, but you probably remember having this problem, and maybe anybody else who likes to draw can empathize. Look how sweetly I did her face. I mean, it's so good. But you know what? When I ink that, it'll look terrible. It's so funny. I can capture the softness in a face, right, in the pencil, and then when I do the ink, like if I get one line out of place, I feel like, oh, the harmony of the face is distorted, So it's just funny. I haven't reached that point where I can get to the face with the inks and just confidently go dish dash dish, ha ha. So a lot of times I'll ink everything except the face, and then I'll just sweat it. I'll just sweat that face like I'm going to blow this whole picture, and then I just say fix it in digital. That's what I end up doing no matter what. I just fix the face in digital because I'm just not there yet.
So I think you need to hit the face sooner. My recommendation is get about 20% into it, get nice and warmed up, and hit that face, because otherwise you're telling yourself the entire time you're working on that piece, I'm going to mess this up in the face. I'm going to mess this up in the face. I'm going to mess this up in the face. You're just repeating that the whole time. Yeah. And by the time you get there, you're like, well, now it's my time to mess up the face.
Yeah, I hear you.
But you need to hit it when your hand confidence is at its highest.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense.
And also kind of surprise yourself with it. You're like, I'm doing the face now, and you don't have time. You're like, I'm just doing that, because it is going to be, and it is going to be muscle memory. You just got to do it. You got to put it in the time, the hours. I would even recommend draw 20 of those faces that aren't on full image.
You're so right. But the funny thing is, I'm a writer. Yeah, I'm like a writer first, colorist second. So I'm writer first, colorist second, and drawing just is fun for me. But I don't profess ever to be able to draw at the level of published artists. But I do love to draw.
So when I usually draw something, it's usually to tell the guy I hired to draw, hey, this is what I have in mind.
Yep.
Something
Yeah,
like
I do
this.
that too.
Yeah,
I do all my.
I didn't draw. I just made up a guy right here. Just like,
Oh, cool. Yeah, I do.
some
I
kind
do
of
all my.
cyborg guy.
Nice.
Yeah. So here, I mean, what I've been doing on this show, because I call the show "There Will Be Ink," because for me, I want to have something in ink when I'm done. So I've been lightboxing my own pencils. So I do a pencil sketch and then I lightbox it. So I got a little jump on it here. You know,
That's
and
actually
when
a
you,
pretty good idea.
oh, it's really fun. And then when you watch how the old school Marvel was done, you realize, oh yeah, that's how they did everything. You know what I mean? Like the penciler gave it to the guy, to anchor, toss in the light box, to bang, to boom. It's like it isn't. You're not only not reinventing the wheel, you're just discovering the wheel. When you start like boxing pencils and
Exactly.
seeing what happens, you're like, oh yeah, this is actually how everything was done back in the day. Even Photoshop layers and all the things, they had an analog for that back in the day, right? That's how you could do layers. You know, you could do it on the light box, change something, go back. It was like, yeah.
We had a light box too. This is aging me and the products at my high school. So in the 90s in high school, we had this light box that was like almost like a phone booth that you stepped into, and it was all dark, and it had foot pedals that you controlled with your feet, and you could project, change the size of the image that you were drawing or tracing or projecting. So you could throw a photo or a drawing down there and do that. And then it also had like a tilt shift, and it had a tilt in the image and a distortion function. So you could do all of these distortions with the lenses in the projector. And you were just standing there at a table in this booth drawing. So you could figure out all these manipulations. And they had those things back in the 40s.
Exactly.
Nobody past the 90s has ever seen anything like that. So kind of think, sometimes we're like, oh, this guy did this by hand, and you're like, kind of.
Yeah. Kind of.
They had a little more help than you think back then.
Totally. When you start lightboxing things, then you go back and look at the old comics. You're like, There's some Aquaman covers from the late '60s. Jim Aparo did the interiors, but I can't remember who did the cover. But God, they're some of my favorite covers. They're so gorgeous. I forget who the artist is, but you can tell they're like almost light boxed from supermarket ads, when you have like a woman's face and she's going, oh, it's like you can tell. They all had clip files, right? Clips files of like, I need a surprise expression. Oh, here's my surprise expression. Sad expression. You're right. I mean, everything we have, they had. They just had it in the analog version, 100%. And then I remember, I think I mentioned this in the last stream. There's a G.I. Joe cover that Michael Golden did, where it's like one F-16 is exploding and Flint is jumping out, and then there's another F-16 right next to it. And like, yeah, the one that isn't exploding is just 100% traced on a light box, and it looks great. It looks freaking great. So who cares? But one thing with the light box is that you're also, it's all about, like I was telling you, Ryan, when I was showing you one of my drawings in a DM, it's all about the kind of sculpting it, using grayscale or hatching to make it lift off the page, to just trace it is not anything. It's like using the hatching and the deep black to all of a sudden it lifts off the page towards you, and then you're getting somewhere. Until you reach that moment, you haven't done anything. And the light box doesn't do that for you. That's you. That's you who creates that magic. Yeah,
because anyone can trace a helicopter, but Michael Golden can make that helicopter pop off the page. So,
precisely.
He did some great work on here's my Michael Golden story I've told before, but he did some great work on these Jurassic Park covers years and years ago, and they released a black and white portfolio set of them, so you could just study the black and white inks. And a couple of inker friends and I were studying them, and we realized that he had gone in and done all the tech work by hand. Like, even if he'd gone in with a pencil and done all the speedometers on the dashboard, even if he'd done them in pencil with his template, he'd gone in with ink and traced them, and you could see the slight shake, but you could just see this confidence in approaching the curves and the lines. And I met him years and years later, and we were talking, and I said, it was so great studying that stuff, because looking at your work and seeing that a human hand could do that, it gave me such inspiration. I mean, also it looked impossible, but I was like, oh, okay, somebody can do this. And he stopped his drawing at the con, put his pencil down. He looked up at me and he goes, your first mistake is thinking I'm human.
That's the attitude, right? That's the attitude. Wow.
I was like, you know what? I'm gonna leave right now because that's the coolest thing that's ever said, and I don't want to screw this up.
That is hilarious. Yeah, it's funny how those you know, they say never meet your heroes, but sometimes that's wrong. Sometimes definitely meet your heroes. You know, it's like.
Yep, I have both stories. I used there were certain people. I don't name names or anything. Obviously, but I've had bad experiences with some people. And so there was a time I kind of went through the like, especially working in comics. I'm like, oh man, I met some jerks and this or that, and you can get so caught up. You think everyone's a jerk if you just focus on the person or few people that were jerks, you know, and you can get so caught up in that, and then slowly realizing that like, oh, okay, wait a minute, not all my heroes were jerks. Some of them are super awesome people, and it's been a wonderful treat to meet them. And blah blah blah.
Blah blah. Yeah, but the funny thing is, you know, I look at what I'm trying to do in comics, and in the end, it isn't about me. In the end, it's like about what's on the page, you know. Because if it's a good story, people will be like, "Oh, read this story." They won't be like, "Oh, there's this cool guy." You know, it's not about me. So you think of like John Byrne and all these people who've inspired us so much. The legacy that's on the page is what endures, you know. What they like for breakfast or how they spoke to a cab driver is not really the point, you know. It's like the legacy is what's on the page, you know. Exactly. So it's, you know, we're not here to like, you know, make friends with every person or like judge every minutia of people's lives, you know. Like, you know, for me, one of my all-time heroes is Bill Sienkiewicz. You know, he's to me is like he like made my childhood. You know, huge hero to me. And when I watch him in a video or whatever, he's kind of like a little scatterbrained, and you know, he's not like, you know, put together. He doesn't, and I love that about him. You know, he's just kind of a scatterbrain, and he follows his instinct really intuitively. Just like, all right, there's this one video which I really recommend if you like Sienkiewicz, I do, where it's like he's at some art institute. And he's giving a master class or whatever. And so the entire master class is him with watercolors painting a pickup truck. And he makes the pickup truck, and it's all out of proportion. Like the bed is wrong. One fender is too large, you know, it's just all distorted. And he's like, and that's my truck. And everyone's like, what? And he just spends 2 hours messing with that truck. And he transforms it into so many things, you know, and you just can't believe it. You're like, this guy. You know, I don't think even he knows what he's about to do. He's improvising on such a level, you know. He's like, now I'm going to spray bleach on the truck. Now I'm going to like rub my elbow across it and dab it with whiteout. Now I'm going to just like, what are you doing, man? You're amazing. So I love that kind of experimentalism and also that kind of fearlessness. But again, he's just a human. You know, he's not a paragon. And you know, a lot of artists are just humans. I was thinking of another person whose work just floors me is Gil Kane.
Yeah.
You know, Gil Kane is like, whew. But then I was reading a little biography of him, and you find out, I was reading a biography of him, and he's from Hungary. I was like, what? He's Hungarian? Yeah, he's Hungarian, you know? And his level of training and his level of talent was just immense, right? So he's drawing Batman or drawing Green Lantern in the 60s. He was way overqualified to be doing that. You know what I mean? So that's why, like, when he was following his instincts on those books, it's just mind-blowing. So I just feel like we were lucky we were in the presence of greatness with some of these artists, you know? But they're just people trying to pay the bills. You know?
They're idiots just like us.
Yeah, stars. Just like us. Well, that's true. You know, as high you go in the realms of power or prestige, the number of idiots remains constant. You know? They're just like us. So check this out. Completely disagreeing with you. Look what I left out. I'm doing the bike and a no head. Oh man. Totally chickened out. I guess I set myself up for that one. But we'll see. I'll have to bite the bullet and do it pretty soon. I'll probably do a pencil. So hey, can I ask you some inking questions, Ryan?
Ask away.
Okay, do the different strokes have names? Like when you push away and like you lift the thing and so it tapers off to a fine, as opposed to, let's say, you start with a fine and then you push down so it gets thicker. Do those things have names, those strokes?
everybody's kind of got different names for them. I've actually been trying to remember all the different names from the different people I've worked with. Because like some people will call this brush is kind of weak, but like when you're going thick to thin out of a black shape, say some people will call that feathering or bleeds.
Feathering. That's right.
It depends on like we never called it feathering because the inkers I worked with, feathering was thinner lines that worked out almost more like feathers. So we called these bleeds, but then I'd go and I'd meet up with I'd be talking to one of the Wildstorm people, and they're like, "Oh, because this feathering here," and you're like, "Oh, you call that feathering?" Oh, so it was like everyone kind of had different terms for it. In the one I do remember is in the background when a lot of image people, there's this the cross hatching that's in the background, line figures like this. We called those dits. Those were called dits. Also, image school. This is a really bad brush for these examples, but there's a lot of lines like Scott Williams kind of started it as a trend, and then everyone kind of adapted their own, and like Bat and Joe Williams are like the best at it. But there'll be a line with like a bloop at the end, and then you go like thin, and then a bloop. Like you'll see Capullo will do those, and we call those like everyone. When I was coming up, those were just called bloopy lines, just bloops. You do these bloops. Things like that. So I am trying to slowly collect and remember those names. I found a few sheets of paper that had some stuff on it. So, but it was also something that wasn't universal at all.
Right, of course. It'd be regional and there'd be groups of people. Yep. Well, I'd like to know some of those things. That'd be a fun show for you to do sometime. Like, try to just brainstorm the names of those things, and also have people in the chat and other people say, "No, we called it this or we called it that." That'd be fun.
Because like Richard Friend and I have had discussions before about like, oh, we should do a video like that where we're just talking about the different things that we called it, and also like people like you are often, they're like, hey, is there a name for this thing you guys do?
Exactly. I mean, we all have our time when we were raised with, and my time was, 1986. My prime of reading was 85, 86, 87. So the style of inking and line work then, to me, it's like pure music to my eyes, And so so I know all those just by eye. I know all those little ink moves that they would do. And those ones weren't that different than the whole Bronze Age, They were still using mostly the Bronze Age strokes. So that's the stuff I want to know all about, those Bronze Age strokes, and if those things have names. But again, I'm not a real inker. I just want to learn. I'm just a student of life, I just want to learn.
Well, everything, each generation of inkers was basically taught the same thing. It was like, look at what the heroes from 10 years ago did, the people you like, and then modernize it. And the attitude was never necessarily to make it better, because we didn't look at like C.C. Beck and think we're doing better work than C.C. Beck when we're working on the darkness. Like we're doing the intense hatch work and all this blood and guts and dramatic lighting. And we spent way more time per page than C.C. Beck ever did. The scanning, the printing qualities are way more advanced, so you can actually get tons of fine lines. So artists were developing their style for how it could be translated to print.
That's right.
So now you can do whatever. You can just pencil your book and scan it up and color it and whatever. But the reason inking was around is not just for print. You want to make, as an artist, ink makes your image permanent. Obviously. Because a lot of people say, oh, they invented inking so that they could print. And you're like, no, people wanted a permanent line long before print was around.
Exactly.
And our whole thing too. So like when I came up with Danny Mickey was the inker that trained me, and his whole thing was like, look at Scott Williams and then look at everything from the 70s that Scott Williams was studying. Because all Scott did was take what Frazetta did and tighten it up and add some bloops. And we don't mean that in a diminishing way to what Scott did. It's not like, oh, all Scott did. But Scott would say that too. If you came to Scott and you were like, you developed the image style, Scott would be like, all I did was push what the other guys were doing before me. And I just pushed it a little bit.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, definitely something I want to learn about. I mean, I thought when I got into this whole thing, I never thought that I would find coloring interesting. Now I find it endlessly interesting, you know? And so same thing with inking. Now I'm starting to get like a hankering to just know what all the strokes are called and know how, which ones are push and which ones are pull. And you know what I mean? Like, it's just interesting to me. And you know, cause I feel like someday I could even be good enough, you know, to draw my own full comic. Maybe. Maybe.
Well, yeah, you start with inking your sketches and start with making some short stories or more pinups or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I do my own layouts, you know, so I storyboard all my books when I'm working with another artist. But it's like, yeah, even then when I first started getting into comics, you know, again, I was just like, oh, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to do this thing. Oh, I'm going to be something. And then a little voice said to me, yeah, but you have to learn to draw the human figure in perspective. And all of a sudden my jaw just dropped. I was like, I could never do that. You know, like that's a lifetime of work. That and then the little voice said, and it's in every panel. And then I was like, oh my God, I got to hire an artist. So yeah, it's taken me years to even draw as good as the little things I post on Twitter, you know? But
I used to think I was a good artist, but nah, I'm not that great.
Well, people who put the time in, you know.
But you know what I did was I found another way to create. Here's my idea, and then I hire someone to make my idea.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm more of a director. In a sense.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah. And that's sort of the rules of my show. You know, people like, you know, what is your show about? I'm like, well, if you have a comic and you're trying to make that dream come true and you're passionate about it, come on my show. That's it. That's the rule. You know, because it is like being a director. You have your story, you have your creative team, you're trying to bring this vision to an audience and to take them on that ride. So yeah, it does compare well to that. All right, look at this. My headless warrior is looking great. Look at that. My headless warrior, my headless armored warrior. It's great.
You should draw the head on the ground like you got decapitated.
That's so grim. That's so grim. And plus, she's beautiful. You know, I don't want to see her head. Anything happen to her?
It just feels like there should be a head sticking out of that where the shoulders are.
I'm pretty happy with it, though. I'm pretty happy with it. You know, again, Ryan, my inking is so self-taught. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I look at the strokes of really good people, and I'm like, wow, they have technique. And I'm like, what do I have? I don't know. I have instinct and cross-hatching, I guess. But I guess I also was saying to JB, it's like, you know, to do one of those strokes where you push the brush or whatever and release it and it tapers to an edge and then do 10 of them in a row that stay in scale and curve. It's like that takes a lot of muscle memory. So it's like, you know, you just do 10, you got to do 1,000 strokes just to get to that level, you know? So that's what I picture what I'm doing right now is I'm just putting in my 1,000 strokes, my 10,000 hours, you know? And
yeah, so, that's to plug my channel for a second. That's one of the things we do over on my YouTube channel. Wednesday nights we do late night inks episode where there's an ink along, and what I do is I draw up a headshot much like this, and I may even use this for a video.
Cool.
And I provide the pencils in the description so people can download it and ink along with me. And I go over, you know, I tell stories and chit chat while we're talking. Each video is usually about 30 or 40 minutes, but I go over the techniques and my approach to each piece.
All right. I'm going to become a viewer
as we do
of your show for sure.
And we go over the mechanics of the muscle memory and how different strokes are made and created, because I think that's the number one thing, even in books and stuff. It doesn't tell you, lock your elbow here, put your wrist here on the art, because so I'm always going over stuff like that. So I tell people how to confidently do a long line over these, you know, broad strokes over this character's head or these big neck muscles or something. Like how do we do that? So I break it down into real simple, like bits and pieces, because that's all it is. Like everyone looks at a piece and they're like, oh, this drawing, and you're like, you know what? It's a short line here, a little medium line here. It's a little bit longer line here. It's a series of simple little things to build this big thing. Just like a story. A story is a bunch of little words, and it's just how you arrange it.
Yep. I was doing a little, 10-minute ink sketching. Someone in the chat, let me see. Kino, it is U.S. Agent that Ryan is running. U.S. Agent.
Yes.
He asked if it's Cap.
No, I'm gonna hint at it. So anyone that knows of U.S. Agent, hopefully, if they see this, his chest piece, I'm kind of doing it as a symbol in the background there.
I had to say back in the day it was easy to get those two but confused though.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna
Wasn't
leave
like
mine.
Us.
wasn't that Captain America's uniform for a while though too before U.S. Agent was?
I'm trying to remember because I feel like U.S. Agent came in and wore the blue costume at first, but maybe not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been so long since I actually read them. So when I was looking up the reference tonight, I was like, it was like bursts of memory that like I hadn't even thought of in so long. Just like, oh, I remember that cover. Oh, geez, flashbacks to classic Marvel.
I remember. Yeah, I was thinking about that. I was remembering when they used to have subscriptions. Remember that?
Yeah, and the ads for them in the back always got me, and I'd always run to my mom. I'm like, "Look, Mom, it's 12 issues for like $3. You got it. It's so cheap."
They're giving it away.
Yeah.
I kind of wish those would make a comeback or something.
Alterna had it for a while. Actually, the Alterna still has it. They just today changed their pre-order on it, but
Guys, I'm
Alterna
gonna step
for their line.
I'm gonna step away for a second. You guys keep the chat going. Keep the conversation moving. I'll be right back.
He's looking for the head for his character. It rolled away. It felt, like an eraser off your desk. You're like, oh no, where'd it go?
I don't know. I kind of like the bullpen bulletin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they were at least back in the day trying to make you feel like you were a part of the process. Now they don't care.
No, now it's much more just like, here's the product, take it, take it like it. Where I used to love reading those things. I used to love the kind of all the extras they had from the time I was real young, and it was Jim Shooter's and Stan Lee's stuff. To when I got a little bit older and they were doing like those editor interviews they used to do with like there'd be a caricature of the editor by one of the staff artists.
Or it'd be an artist or something. It'd be like they'd be interviewing them or something.
Yeah, because
it's a spotlight.
Yes, yeah, those were great. I loved all that stuff. Yeah, the subscriptions were great. I think I only got my mom to do it like 1 or 2 years though, and then it went back. It went back to just like I don't know why, because we were so poor and everything was so expensive that I don't know why she didn't do that, because she'd still let me buy comics every month, and I think we spent more without the subscription. But the subscriptions were super cheap. She should have just done that.
What was it? What'd you get a subscription to?
It would have been Fantastic Four. This is pre-Wolverine. This was Fantastic Four when there was the female Thing at the time. I'm drawing a blank on what her character's name was. But there was the female Thing for a while. Ron Friends was doing it. And I was also getting Avengers at that time. And X-Men hadn't hit for me yet. I think I needed to be like 11, 12. And then X-Men, I was like, whoa,
Yeah,
I get
that's when it hit for
X-Men now.
me. That's when it hit for me. 11 and 12, definitely.
Yeah.
My first X-Men comic was 205, and that's still, to my mind, one of the greatest issues ever written. With Barry Windsor Smith and Wolverine and Katie Power. I mean, that had every emotion in it. It had body horror, it had ultra violence, it had tenderness, it had care, it had sweetness, it had compassion. I mean, how did he hit all those notes? And I was 11, and I was just like, I was grossed out, I was disgusted, and then I was also inspired, and I was like, what is going on here?
I think I barely remember the Star Wars comic. And I think I barely remember having a few Transformers comics, but the one that stuck out in my mind the most was Wolverine. I think it was like number 22.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might have been the one where he was like in that island he hung out at. He wore the eye patch.
Mm-hmm.
Madripoor.
Yes, and he was fighting a bunch of Yakuza.
Mm-hmm. He was Patch. He went by Patch.
like no one would ever be able to notice him. He just wears a patch.
Yeah, that changed the whole look.
What a disguise. So there's a scene where they've destroyed the place, and he's like, they think they killed him. The one guy's looking underneath over the bar. I mean, underneath. He's looking over the bar, and Wolverine's underneath the bar. He's got his claws like right, right where the guy's leaning over. So when he's leaning over, the claws come right out.
Brutal.
Yeah,
I do
Wolverine.
remember that.
They made it so brutal, even though they couldn't show everything.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have to actually make it all because if you remember when he like chopped off an arm, they didn't show all the detail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I keep telling people who weren't around for the original 10 issues of the Ninja Turtles that was some of the most violent stuff.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, people don't remember that the original Ninja Turtles, when someone got hit with a sword, like it left a bloody gash that bled in every successive panel. Like it was the most realistic violence in a completely non-realistic world of Ninja Turtles. They actually, I think that gave them the leeway to be more realistic with the blood and everything because people didn't take it seriously. But it was
I think even our parents, it looked like a joke to them. It looked like a parody book,
Parody,
and it was so heavy.
It was so heavy.
Yeah, so I was like, how did they would have never made, like, how did they make this into a children's cartoon?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was wonderful though. I remember how exciting that was. I actually was lucky enough. I got to meet Eastman and Laird that same year. I met them in the summer of '86. They came to a comic convention in my corner of the world, and I got their autograph, and I still have it.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to tell somebody. I think we got into like a debate about it, and I was like, well, a couple of college kids weren't even a part of the comic book industry, and they made something.
Yeah, made an empire.
An empire, yeah.
Yeah, this was you're talking about this. Where is it? They're all like standing there all cut up or something at the end. Yeah.
Well, on Tuesday on my show, my guest is going to be Luke Stone, and our theme is going to be take a favorite panel and remix it. And so when I go back to my favorite panels, a lot of them come from the Mutant Massacre. I mean, that one issue, it was like the issue where it was the summer of '86. I think they had a face on every cover. It was like the 25th or 35th anniversary or whatever of Marvel, and so it's Wolverine. He's got the claws and half of his mask is torn off. It was part 2 of with the Morlocks in the tunnels. Oh man, that is so full of iconic panels, like Angel getting his wings done in. It's just like, oh my God, so many iconic panels in that one issue. So
what about what if X-Men lost Inferno? That was a pretty good one.
Yeah, I got to go see that one. That was after my time, but I definitely would check it out.
Or was it what if the Marvel Universe lost Atlantis Attacks?
I remember that one.
Oh yeah, that was a pretty good one.
I remember the Inferno one now that I'm seeing the cover.
It was pretty dark for a Marvel comic book.
Crazy. Well, yeah, I guess for them to have lost Inferno, now I know I read this. I'm looking at the interior pages. Wow, it's been a while.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Okay, guys, how'd I do? Got away with it?
It looks clean from here.
I know, I got lucky.
Yeah.
Nah, you just got skills.
Well, when you lightbox it 3 times, you're giving yourself a little cushion. But the funny thing is, when I do these sort of things, like my original pencil sketch, it just had a nice softness to it, and I'm like, I'm gonna lose that softness, But I guess no, I got pretty close. I'm relieved. It all comes down to the faith, because those are the things. When I started to think I was going to make comics, I was like, well, first of all, you'd have to draw the human figure in proportion, and that seems impossible. And then secondly, you'd have to draw a face that doesn't look cartoony. And for me, I've always been able to draw like cartoony characters, never anything real,
Nothing serious, huh?
So like for me to draw even though it's in an anime style, it's much more real than what my normal style of drawing as a kid was, But I feel like, I was into this, and it was really passionate for me. And then, I got a guitar, started playing in bands, and that was it. And then I spent the rest of my life doing music. So it's like coming back to something. It's like I still draw like a 12-year-old, you know, or like maybe a 15-year-old. Maybe I've gotten better. Maybe I draw like a 15-year-old now. But the point is, like, when I'm doing a layout or something, and I can make it, I can draw it, I can give the feeling to the real artist, and then they can go, oh yeah, okay, I see what you want there, and then they'll just do it 1,000 times better than me.
ID Crisis wants to know what is the subject.
Oh, ID, the subject is super soldiers. And I got this because of Melvin. In fact, let's pump up Melvin again.
Yeah.
So Melvin
let's look at
is
Melvin
Tim Olson's creation. Let me sell it for you, Tim. Ready? It's
Right,
about
right.
a mercenary in the future. There is no Earth. Did I do okay?
Yeah.
And he's got to rescue a princess from a gang of
A cult.
a cult. And it's a space sci-fi fantasy adventure with a lot of action and you know, inspired by the energy of the 90s. Did I do okay?
Yes, you did fine. I'll have my people call your people.
Oh, perfect.
Can you get Tim to buy his own book from you?
That sounds great. That sounds
I'll back
great.
that today.
Where can I get my copy?
We could do it like Shark Tank.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I'm out.
No.
Do
you
the
have
art
a?
looks great. It looks really fun, which
Yeah.
we were talking about. Fun is kind of the thing that all of us are looking for in comics right now.
Mhm.
Exactly.
And,
Yep. It's gotta
how did you
take
meet
you-
your artist? Sorry, I'm asking
Oh, yeah.
questions.
You do it, Ryan. You do it. This is a water cooler. This is a water
I'm always
cooler.
curious
Everybody-
about that kind of stuff.
Everybody talks.
I shall tell you. On Facebook, I think a few years ago, I wanted somebody to draw me a cover. He drew me a cover, and I kind of had it on a flash drive for a few years. And I think I was trying. I was doing like a flip book where 5 pages would be Melvin, and then flip it around, and there'd be another character story. And this one dude who had, I think it was like an Indiegogo or a Kickstarter campaign. His name will remain nameless. He told me that I'd never make it, and I don't like people telling me what I can and cannot do. So, kind of irritated, I told Sherwin, I said, "Hey, man, I'm going to hire you to be my artist. We're going to redraw these pages and make a comic book." And he said, "Okay."
Cool.
It's a tale of revenge.
I don't know. I just got fired up. Go ahead.
That's what it takes sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. I think of what my inspirations were. They weren't always positive. Sometimes you want to prove somebody wrong. Sometimes a negative experience can be a good motivator, you know?
Heck yeah.
Well, I've met a few artists, and the way they talk to me makes me remember that how they talk to me, and I want to be the opposite of how they talk to people. I want to remain humble,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not the best at everything, and I don't
Don't need people to believe that.
yeah, and also I don't some people are into themselves
Mm-hmm.
for whatever reason. So I've learned that I try to be humble and respectful of others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I feel like one thing you got to also be is when you're out in the marketplace, because that's my nickname for this whole comics thing. Sometimes it's just the marketplace, right? The marketplace at one time was a convention floor. If you want to get hired or you want to meet talent, well, now this is the marketplace for that, right? You're going to meet talent on Twitter that's amazing, right? And they'll return your calls. They'll talk to you. Like, this is amazing. So we're in the marketplace now, and we're trying to sell your book. You're trying to find readers for your book. This is the marketplace. So how you present yourself in the marketplace is a huge thing. If you present yourself as somebody who's like, if you engage with me, we're going to have a good time. We're going to do this. I'm humble, but I'm also, optimistic and, not going to bring you down. So I just do think, yeah, you got to have a little bit of a sense of how you treat people, because everyone's a potential customer, and you are the product, and the way you treat people is your PR. So, and then there's a lot of people that they maybe could think about, everyone's a customer. I mean, I saw somebody tweet today. It was like, comics are for everyone, even people you don't like. And I'm like, yeah, exactly.
Exactly. I've also learned that when you're on social media, keep your cool because
Yep.
people are going to judge you about if you're going to be freaking out and acting like a jackass. People are
Yeah.
going to notice.
Yeah,
So,
there's definitely yeah, I think that's a great mantra. Keep your cool and just realize that, it's a great window, and social media is a great window, and you can look through that window and you can actually once in a while meet amazing people, but sometimes it's just better to watch the cars pile up and keep quiet.
yeah.
Because what are you going to do? You weren't driving any of those cars, and you can't save the people in those cars. But
And
I also kind of think that you judge people by a gut feeling. Sometimes I see a creator and I'm like, I think that person is kind of on the level. I think they're legit. I think they're really in this, and I don't know anything about them. Just take a chance on that gut feeling. But even the people you don't like, I want them to succeed too. I want
if you have it.
yeah, if you're thinking that like somebody else should fail, why would I want you to? It's like the more people that succeed, the bigger this thing gets, right?
Exactly.
So I want everybody who can and has the drive and the talent, and the readers find their work appealing. I want them all to succeed, So that way we just keep this thing going, and that's why I changed my pin tweet. I don't know, last summer or something, after seeing a lot of drama go down. I was just like, it said, ignore haters, support creators. That's just it. If you find that someone's creating their book and trying to make their dream, give them your attention, And if you find someone's just trying to tell everybody else why they can't do it, or to why this sucks and why this sucks, if someone's doing nothing but bringing other people down, I just don't have time for that. I'm not going to fight them.
Oh no.
But I'm going to ignore them. You know what I mean? It's like I literally just don't have time for people whose business is tearing people down, because this is a gold rush right here. We're living in the best possible time for indie comics. This is a time when the only limit is how bad do you want it? How hard are you willing to work? There's
The
no
way I
limit.
look at it is, I'll make this book, and whoever likes it, thank you. If whoever doesn't, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Such a good attitude.
Yeah. Well, I remember Pete Samiti got this hate mail or hate tweet, and it was like, I got this alternate and it was terrible, and then blah blah. And he said on the big public TL, he's like, I'm sorry you didn't enjoy it. We have many other titles. I hope you will give one of our other titles a chance, but if not, we appreciate your business.
There you go.
I'm like, what did I just hear? Was that an adult? Was that an adult using adult reasoning? That's it. That's how you speak to customers. You'd be like, yeah, I'm sorry you didn't like it, but we're here and we're doing our thing, and other people do like it, and we hope maybe you can return and try another one of our products, but if not, thank you very much. That's it. We just live in such a weird inflammatory time where if you disagree with something that I say, I must break you.
It kind of reminds me of that SNL skit. You remember the one that was that rapper Drake was hosting, and there's one where every little infraction was he started doing a diss track to it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see that. That's funny though.
Yeah, so it's just that's what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
Every little infraction is like a beef you have with somebody now.
Yeah, beef. Yeah, I just feel like I've been watching the indie comics Twitterverse. I think I've been watching 4 years now, and first year I'm quiet, second year I'm a little louder, third year I start making connections, fourth year I try to put a book out there, and it's like if you just kind of stay the course, you can make something happen for yourself, But if you try to win today's battle, you lose sight of what are you really in this for, What are you really to win today's battle, or to go the long haul to make your dream come to life? So that's sort of my theme, is that when I meet somebody and they're trying to bring their dream to life, my assumption is that I'm good with them. They're on my team.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that's my assumption. I just gonna assume that you're on my team until otherwise, until otherwise. And I wrote that too in my pin tweet for a while. It was just like, if you're trying to bring your dream to life, you're on my team. If you're just trying to tear other people down, no time for you. That's it.
I want to quote ID crisis on my Twitter. Adults sound like form letters, not a terrible policy. I'll try that on my put in quotes and then put ID crisis. 2021.
Yeah. Well, do you guys know ID Crisis? I've been on his stream a couple of times. He's a a custom paint airbrush artist, and he can really draw too. So sometime he's gonna have a book. It's still maybe a ways off, but he's a very talented guy.
I might have been on his show. Is this show like relatively new?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I might have been on the show. I'm not sure.
Very talented guy. When you see what he can do
Just
on
subscribed.
on motorcycles, on gas tanks, he's one of those guys that like does that kind of painting, and it's just like yikes, because you have to be able to do likeness and caricature and proportion and poses and all the flame effects and all this stuff. And then I saw some of his pencils, and I was like, dang, you can do it, man.
I'm not sure. I think.
Oh, I know ID.
Yep.
I know ID. I see him now. I know ID.
Yeah.
Was he the guy I recommended?
I just got excited that I recognized him.
Yeah. And that's another thing, like Vic King, he was on my show a little while ago, and it's like I've watched him over a number of years, and people get into their kerfuffles, emotions get hot or whatever, loyalties are tested. But Vic's a pretty like solid guy, and when I saw him he announced he was going to do a book where he was the lead artist, I'm like, dude, good, take your shot, take your shot. If you get your at bat, take it. People were telling him, "Oh, don't do that." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Vic's got a shot to draw an entire book. You should be cheering him on." It's like never tell somebody like, "Oh, I don't know, you should do this." Like, dude, take your shot. Take your shot to draw a book.
That guy is
awesome. Yeah, I like him a lot too.
I was honored that he actually reviewed my original cover.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's people who give and like are generous with others. It stands out.
Exactly.
Like you were saying, that go get 'em attitude. It's always in my head. The song. It's a super cheesy song, but I always want young artists to have this in their head. But that song, I forget the actual name, but the "Put me in the game, coach. I'm ready to play."
Oh yeah,
today.
John
Fogerty. Yeah, and just that, like, I'm ready. Like, I'm stepping up and I'm asking to play. Like I like that attitude especially when I see that in young or new creators, whether you're 20 and you're young and doing it, or whether you're 45 and you're like, my kids are old enough I can sit down and draw at night. I'm making my book now.
Yeah, that's me, buddy.
I got a lot of friends like that, buddy. I got a lot of friends like that.
Yeah.
And I love it, especially because they got this fire. I got friends that are like, 5 years ago they were just like done with drawing, but they were fine with it too. They were just like, I'm on doing other stuff. And now, like I said, they're either their kids are older, or some of my friends, the moms are raising the kids. So they got more free time now, and just seeing them just dive into be creative for creativity's sake. Not necessarily even like, oh, I have to make a book to sell, but just the like, I want to draw again. I want to tell a story. I want to learn a craft. Yep,
totally. I also think that, you go ahead, Tim.
Okay, so ID Crisis says, advice that isn't solicited is usually worth speculation. What are your thoughts of that?
You mean when someone gives you advice and there was no incentive for them to lie to you or tell you the truth, right? They just felt like saying something? Yeah, it's tough to say. I mean, sometimes when people give you the unvarnished truth, it can be very helpful. They don't have a dog in the hunt. They're just calling it like they see it. That can be helpful.
It depends.
Yeah,
I mean, if it's like if it's some rando out of nowhere, that you'd be like, well, who the heck are you?
It's got to ring true, right?
Yeah.
If it doesn't ring true, then skip it.
Yeah, because I used to be a younger person as a kid, and then as I got older, I had to work on it, where it was, I know the answer, or I think I know what's right. I have to say it, and it took me a long time to realize, like, oh, whether I do or don't, I don't have to say it right now.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, and not that it's something I'm like, oh, I'm so wise now. I'm obviously
it's
idiot,
a part of
but I'm still learning. It's
a part of wisdom to know when to not talk.
But yeah, and it was also it's the kind of stuff I'm like, oh, that's what my grandpa always meant. Stuff like that. I'm like, ah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so for me on Twitter, unless somebody's asking for advice, I don't say anything, unless they're asking openly or asking me directly for advice. I'm not going to say anything.
And when it comes to art, though, I find it's very like, somebody could look at your art and say, "Well, this is terrible," and then somebody could look at your art and say, "This is awesome." So it is still very subjective. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, if it's about like, hey, well, maybe you should try this and give it a try, and then maybe it'll work, maybe it'll help things a bit.
Yeah, everybody knows what their vision of the finished product is. For me, like with Tales of Zero, I know exactly what I want the finished product to look like. And Matt and I did enough test pieces with his inking style and my coloring style, each of which is highly textured. So when you overlay the two of them, it just looks like film grain that's kind of bubbling. And I was like, oh, that's hot. That's hot. We need this. This is what we got to do, But it doesn't look like anything else that anybody's doing. So when people see our rough cut, they're like, yeah, but you didn't color inside the lines there. Yeah, but wait, that didn't. And I'm like, no, trust me, it's coming. When you see the finished thing, you're going to see it. You're going to see it because I've already kind of looked ahead. But that's the fun thing about it. It's like you want your book to have its own voice so it can stand out from the crowd. Like I mentioned earlier, Street Champion Road Warrior Drake by Elasmat, that's just got its own voice. It doesn't look like anything else. The only thing it compares to is like somewhere between the Turtles and the Hamsters in '86. Where it's like it's kind of cartoony, but it's also tough and raw, and it's a very street level story. So I saw that right away, and I kind of heard his sincerity, and I was like, dude, I got you. You're trying to say something in your own unique voice. You seem like you're really passionate about it. You're in it to just tell your story. I was like, dude, you seem like a great guy. So I helped him out. I did a song for his campaign. So just like, yeah, I get inspired. I get inspired when people do. People just wanted to bring that dream to life. It just really inspires me. All right, you guys. I think I finished my piece. First time I've ever.
That is awesome. That's Solid Snake, right?
Oh yeah. Well, that's JB. That's not me. You wish I could draw that. You're too kind to me.
I've been sitting here watching JB draw for the last 20 minutes.
Thanks, man.
Like I didn't realize. I'm like, oh yeah, my screen's been still. I haven't been doing anything because I've been watching JB while we're talking.
I've been kind of scanning the chat. I like ID Crisis take on things. I kind of like how he thinks.
Here's mine. I'll hold it up for you folks at home. Sort of just our kick-ass girl with her armored cyclone and her blaster.
Robotech.
Yep, the third generation. Which as a kid I didn't like it so much. Of course, Macross, nothing could touch Macross, but I loved it. I love the Mospeada, the Generation 3 more and more every year. It's got something of this great like 1983 like sort of Gem and the Holograms sort of flair to it. The MTV era. It's sort of the MTV era. And it's just wonderful. So I love it more and more. Like Yellow Dancer. I mean, that was a great character.
I remember. So go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's just like the characters in that were a little unconventional. Like Yellow Dancer was very unconventional for the time for syndicated TV in the 80s and your Saturday mornings. And yeah, it's just a great show.
Well, for me, Robotech was like Sunday mornings. And like it also before that, it was like Star Blazer.
Oh, I love Star Blazers. Star Blazers is a literal passion for me because Leiji Matsumoto is one of my just absolute favorite artists. So don't get me started on that. I just love it. It's so good.
Don't get him started.
Do not. I'll start my own YouTube show and just put out around an hour.
So tell me more about Star Blazer.
Oh gosh, don't get me started. It's so good. Actually, I may have something coming in the mail. I may have purchased an original animation cell in Star Blazers, yeah. Because I just love it. And yeah. All right. Yeah, I'll post that on Twitter.
My brother actually had a toy of like those purple crab creatures from Robotech.
Oh yeah, the Invid. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were cool. The Invid were wicked cool. Yeah, they were awesome. I love that.
How much does
Yeah,
that original sell?
I don't know. I mean, I think probably 40, 50 bucks.
Oh, okay.
Unless
That's
it's
not
mint
bad.
in the box, in which case then it's a lot. That's how it is with collectors stuff. It's like
Yeah.
loose, it's going to be one thing, and mint in the box will be like.
Now all that stuff is coming back. I mean,
Mhm.
Walmart's got like He-Man, G.I.
Mhm.
Joe, Ghostbusters.
Yeah. 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 All right, I'm going to post mine to Twitter. And let's see, what should we do? We've got about 12 minutes. We want to make sure we give our guest. Do you have a trailer we could watch from Melvin?
Sure, let me just set that up.
Yeah, why don't you show us the trailer? Maybe I'll show my trailer. We'll get the people in the
Talk
audience to back Melvin.
Talk amongst
Yeah.
yourselves.
All right. So
YouTube is neither you nor a tube. Discuss.
okay. Well, it's definitely not me, and it's certainly not a tube. You make an excellent point, sir.
I'm taking a picture of mine. Is there a hashtag that we do for this show?
I've been doing hashtag There Will Be Ink.
Okay.
Okay, so I got it on the page right now.
All right, let me see if I can share your screen. Or do you do it? I forget how this works.
I think he has to say share screen and then you accept it.
Okay.
Did I?
Say you're gonna. Oh yeah. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna accept it. And do you have the audio turned on? Is that you?
I don't. Yeah, I don't know if I can share audio on my version.
Oh, but you can. What you do is when you're doing the sharing screen, you have to do share tab.
Yeah.
Did you do that? Close it out and do it again. Go share screen. No, I actually learned this, and I felt so proud when I learned it. So I want to share it. Pete Cimetti showed it to me, and I was like, "Oh man, I felt like a dum dum." So start it over. You're gonna go share, and then it's gonna ask you like a yes or no. Then you go to the next screen, and there's 3 categories, and one of them says share tab.
I see share screen sharing tips. Screen sharing is easiest with 2 monitors.
Yeah, go beyond that. Say yes to that page. The next page, I think. One of the columns says share tab. I think it's the one on the far right.
Application. Enter screen. Chromium tab. No, that's
yeah. So hit the one that says share tab, and then in the bottom there's going to be a check mark which says audio. I think that's the only way you can share it is if you go by the tab, not by the application.
I am not seeing it.
All right. Well, I was lucky, I guess, because it is hard to describe. Let me see if I can walk you through it. All right. So you go share screen.
Well, I could do this. Hold on. Go to private chat.
And I could do it.
Yeah, because I mean, I think I have to upgrade mine. This is an old computer.
Okay, I'll try to do it for you then.
Yeah. My apologies.
Oh, it's no problem. This is a low tech operation. Yeah, I barely know what I'm doing. Okay.
Cool. I'll fit right in around here.
Yeah, I just feel like this is an exciting time, and you just to hang out with artists, and who knows where any of us will be in a couple of years, right? Just to hang out with artists.
Ironically, I just got a new laptop that I had to have my brother help me set up. That's how retarded I am with technology.
Well, everybody needs help. I definitely need help all the time. Okay, so now I'm going to do what I just said I was going to do. I'm going to share screen, but I'm going to do the tab. And then Chrome tab, Melvin #1, share audio. Here we go. All right, everybody. Let's watch the trailer for Melvin #1.
Well, it's already 2021, so here we are.
It's coming. You didn't lie. It is coming. All right, let me show my trailer. Okay, are you still seeing this? Is this working, or do I have to do a different tab? No, I'm going to do. All right, I'm going to show my trailer now, just because mine is just as short as yours, so that'll be a good thing. Let me see. But yeah, that looks great. I have to tell you, even from everything I've seen, I had no idea that it was like not on Earth. I had no idea that it was in the future. You know what I mean? So like that's giving me more information, and I think you should push that angle. You know, it'd be like, it's Conan in space. It's Conan meets Rambo in space. It's Conan meets Rambo in another planet. It's, you know, like keep pumping those ideas out so people are like, oh, okay, it's on another planet. Oh, okay. You know, like keep hitting people with the little catchphrases so they start to kind of get it. Because I didn't get it. I didn't know it was in another sort of future world. But that's cool.
And don't be afraid of those comparisons when you're talking to people. You know, you don't want to put it on your page or whatever, but when you're talking to people, do it.
People have already made that comparison. It looks kind of like Conan, or it looks kind of like Rambo, or
that's good. Own it, man.
Yeah, because then they can picture it in their head.
Yeah, it's too. I mean, all that stuff's over 100 years ago now. It's like we're living in another century. It's fine. It's Conan meets Rambo. Moving on. All right, so I'm going to show you my trailer. Hope you enjoy it. Fun, hey.
Oh man,
Dang.
that's awesome. I like that.
I'm glad you like it. Yeah, it's a book I'm really proud of. Ryan has read our rough cut, so he can tell you whether it's any good. But I'm really proud of it. It's like, you know, my catchphrase. It's like it's Indiana Jones meets Aliens, where there's this alien archaeology aspect. They're going to get this artifact, but then they encounter some sort of life form that they were not ready, and they're outmatched by this life form. And it's, you know, it's told in a classic pulp style, you know, based on Clark Ashton Smith. And so it's definitely a fun sci-fi adventure with, you know, laughs and scares and a, you know, hopefully a few parts that actually shock you for a minute. But then in the end, you know, it's just our whole setup is that Zero is this guy. He's like, oh, looking good, JB. Zero is like a construction worker in the future, you know, in this mining colony, and he's sitting around telling the story, you know, about this adventure he went on. But throughout the story, you don't really know how much is his embellishment or if he's leaving out key details. So the unreliable narrator is the whole point of Tales of Zero, where he's telling you how it all happened. And you should believe him, because he definitely would tell you the truth, right? And then in the last page, you know, he has this stuff. All the workers in the mining colony, they would drink this stimulant, so then the corporation could get like longer work days out of them, and they would work insane hours and take insane risks. And then when the construction was over, they were all addicted to the stimulant. So he and his buddy, they've been living on, you know, far past their usefulness. There's no more construction work, but they need to do odd jobs to get the money to get the juice. The stimulant is called the juice. So part of the story is that he, you know, as in the storyteller mode, he's achieved this wealth where he can have all the juice he wants, right? So he's no longer this poor guy when he's telling the story, but he's telling his story of his scrappy roots. But again, the juice has this effect where it can make you functionally 10 to 15, 20 years younger, but it's only temporary, right? It only lasts like 4 hours. So you never know how long ago things were when he tells the story, and you never know like whether even he remembers it accurately after a while, because he's always drinking. He's always drinking this juice. So his memories of events might be off. And so it's really fun where you get the adventure, but then you also get the framework of, is this guy telling the truth at all? And then I think Brian will attest to this. In at some point, you're kind of like, is this guy a jerk?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
You want to believe in him because he's so charming, but then you're like, wait, is this guy a jerk?
Mhm.
You should put that in your trailer. Is this guy a jerk? Question.
Buy the book to find out.
Yeah, but I think that's the fun part about it. It's sort of like Han Solo without the heart of gold, you know? It's like the scoundrel who actually is a scoundrel. You know, not the scoundrel who it turns out like, oh, he's actually a good guy. Like
This guy-
with Zero, it's like, maybe not. Maybe he just is a scoundrel, and that's still
This guy's
fun to
a-
hear his stories. But you wouldn't want to be on the adventure with him. You would not want to. If Zero says to you, "Hey, let's go do this," then you'd be like, "Nah."
This guy's a scoundrel, and no, that's just it. He's a scoundrel.
He just is. All right, you guys, let's close this up in 2 minutes. JB, you want to tell us about your piece and how it's coming along?
Oh, yeah, man. I don't know. I'm just trying to render some details out, but
And what are you
it's kind
drawing
of
with?
hard looking back and forth.
What are you drawing with?
I'm just using like some micron pens and like some cheap pens from Walmart I bought.
I know. I like those
color
pens. I know. I like some store-bought pens myself. Some ordinary old store-bought pens. Some of them are so great. But I also got some Japanese brush pens recently, and trying to have a little fun with them. So this is cool. Now, Ryan, yours is awesome. I love the whole look of it.
Here, I can pull
So
back.
great.
Too.
Yeah, people are liking it on Twitter.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I had a lot of fun. It was a great prompt. I wouldn't have thought to draw him without the prompt, so thank you for that.
No problem. Thanks for being on.
I too am using cheap Walmart products.
Yes.
I get this De La Rowney sketchbook, which is actually my favorite type of sketchbook, and Walmart's the only place that has them. I've been using them for 7-8 years now. I absolutely love them. And these pencils are from the Japanese dollar store. I get 10 to a box for like $1.25, and I really like them too. So fancy schmancy over here.
Yep. Well, I used a ballpoint, a gel pen, and one Japanese brush pen for the deep black. And here's mine. It's Rook Bartlett from Mospita or Robotech 3rd generation. So yeah, I'll post this too. And thanks everybody. This has been There Will Be Ink. Everybody go out and back Tim Olson's Melvin #1. He's got 31 days, $500 in. Tell people about it. Have them check it out. Tell them it's Conan in the future in space with Rambo. Get people excited about an adventure, you know. And let's see what we can do to help you get there. But whatever you do, however close you get, you're going to deliver. You're going to find some satisfied readers, and then you're going to have another at bat, right?
Exactly.
That's it. That's it. Just got to get on base. Just get on base. That's it, right? Hit a base hit. That's all you got to do for your first swim. Successfully deliver, and then people will know you're for real. Okay, thanks, everybody. It's been a great one. We're going to be Tuesday with Luke Stone, and then I think a week from tonight with Don Chin. That should be fun. So I haven't confirmed that, but we're pretty close to locking that in. So thanks everybody out there in internet land, and we'll see you again on the next one. Back Melvin, everybody. Okay, good night, guys.
All right, good night, man.
All right.
I'm trying to end the broadcast. I'm such a pro.
Of course.
All right, it's almost ended.